Jamie Arute here from Training for Survival on Alpha Krav Maga. Today we're going to be going over your basic stance in Krav Maga, also some basic movements and some striking skills. So let's get started. First, we're going to start off with your basic stance, which is called your defensive stance in Krav Maga. So start with your feet together, hands by your side, take your dominant leg, step out, just past shoulder width apart. Take that same leg, step straight back. So what you want to happen is you want space between your feet and your knees. You don't want your feet close together, and you don't want them extra wide. You want them shoulder width or just past shoulder width apart. You want to take your knees and you want to bend them equally so your weight is nice and centered. From there, you're going to bring your hands up to the ceiling and drop your elbows by your rib cage. You want your elbows even with the bottom of your rib cage, protecting your spleen and your liver. You want your thumbnails even with your temples. You're going to be tempted to bring your hands up when I say that, but don't. Keep your elbows down and instead just drop your chin. So now you are looking through your eyebrows forward toward the person that you are dealing with. It's very important to keep your hands open because you want to try to diffuse the situation and de-escalate things. If you were to bring your hands up and make two clenched fists, it looks more aggressive and it's going to potentially escalate things more than you would like it to. Instead, keep your hands open, palms facing forward, and you want to frame out the person standing in front of you. So your hands are going to be wider than their shoulders. What that's going to allow you to do is open up your peripheral vision and take in other things that might be going on around you. Also, be able to take in things that are going on with this person's body, such as are they reaching for something? Is there something inside of their hand? You may very well have an adrenaline dump in the beginning of this altercation. And what will happen is tunnel vision will set in. So we're trying to break that tunnel vision to open up our peripheral vision and take in things that are going on around us and also with the person that we're dealing with. So make sure your hands are wider than their shoulders so you could take in the full picture. I like to think of this as putting them inside of a picture frame. My forearms are the sides of that picture frame. Your goal in your defensive stance is to show confidence, but also give the opportunity to de-escalate the situation. When our hands are open when we're practicing this drill, I'm practicing being able to go from this defensive stance, trying to de-escalate things, right into striking from this stance. Because I'm not going to bring my hands up and make a closed fist and start fighting here. Couple reasons for that. One, it's going to tell the other person I'm about to strike them and give off a big telegraph. Two, is that if there's any video being taken of this altercation between you and this other individual, if you stand there with closed fists and the other person's yelling at you, you're standing there with closed fists and they watch this video back with no audio, it looks like both of you could be aggressors. Whereas if your hands are open, you're trying to diffuse the situation and the other person standing in front of you yelling and screaming and pointing in your face and making aggressive movements, from that video with no audio being played, it looks like you're trying to de-escalate and you're trying to diffuse the situation and the other person looks more aggressive. So think about your liabilities in a fight. Make sure you're trying to de-escalate things, keeping your hands open. Your goal is to try to walk away from the situation without getting physical. But it doesn't always work that way. Sometimes the person that is in front of you is just set on being violent and starting a fight. And if that's the case, we're going to prepare you with the skills to be able to defend yourself. Next, from our defensive stance, we're going to move on to proper movements. When you want to move a certain direction, the foot that's close to that direction needs to move first, and you want to thrust off with your opposite foot. So if I want to move forward, I'm going to push off on the ball of my back foot and move my front foot forward to put my body there. If I want to move backwards, I reverse that. This foot's going to slightly come off the ground. I'm going to push off with the ball of the foot of my front foot and put my body there. The same applies when I'm going to the side. If I want to go this direction, I'm going to push off with this foot, lift this foot up and get my body over there. And if I want to go this direction, I shove off with the ball of this foot moves, and I put my body back over to the side. The goal here is to not to ever let your feet come close together, nor let them go too wide where you lose what we call your base. You want to be able to throw a kick, throw a punch, throw your combatives to defend yourself at any time while you're moving, and by keeping this space allows you to do so. If you allow your feet come close together and you're standing in front of a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner, a wrestler, football player, this gives them an opportunity to take your legs out from underneath you and take you down to the ground. So I want my legs based at all times so that it makes it more difficult for them to be able to take me down, and I have better options to be able to defend against it. Now that we've gone over your defensive stance and we went over some basic movements, let's now go over your first strike, which is going to be a palm strike. I always teach a palm strike first because you can hit a hard or a soft surface with a palm strike and not risk a lot of injury to your hand. Whereas if you were to make a clenched fist and go to punch someone to defend yourself and they duck their head to avoid it, you clock the top of their skull with a closed fist, you're more likely to have a hand fracture or to injure yourself. So we're going to go over a palm strike first. When you hit with a palm strike, you want to hit the bottom base of your palm. So your hands are going to be back up into your defensive stance. And I want you to rotate your shoulders and hips and put your palm all the way forward. It's very important when you throw this palm strike to make sure you're pulling your fingers back so that you're not exposing or hitting with your fingers first. Also, turn your hand over on a 45-degree angle. Always leave a slight bend in your elbow when you hit. And you want to turn those shoulders and hips to give yourself as much reach as you can when you're throwing your palm strike. The philosophy should be that if this is the person's head, this is where their nose is, this is where the back of their head is, you want your palm strike to hit the front and come out the back. So you have penetration power when you throw that strike. Remembering that if you're defending yourself against someone that is threatening you with bodily injury or worse, you want to make sure that you hit them as hard as you possibly can to neutralize that threat so they can no longer hurt you. So make sure that you are emphasizing a lot of power, core strength, and keeping yourself grounded when you're throwing your strikes. When you hit with the bottom base of your palm, you're aiming for soft tissue spots. So you're aiming for below the eyebrows, through the eye sockets, down through the cheeks, through the jawline. You're also aiming for the sides of the head, from the ears forward to the nose. Next, we're going to go over punches. Before we do though, let's make sure you know how to make a proper fist. Take your hands, put them out in front of you, palms facing to the ceiling. We're going to roll our fingers into our palms. And we're going to put our thumbs sideways along our index finger and our middle finger. One more time. Roll your fingers into your palms. Put your thumbs sideways along your index finger and your middle finger. Make sure that you're not high up by this knuckle and you're not low below these knuckles toward the tips of your fingers. Very important that you're in between these two knuckle joints. And your finger is running along the side. Your thumb is not sticking up or sticking all the way down. That's going to give you a nice tight fist. You want to make sure that there's no space in here, that your fist is closed nice and tight. After you make a fist, you're going to have a tendency to want to flex everything in your body and flex your hands, but you don't want to do that. You actually want to try to stay as loose as possible. If you start to clench all the muscles in your hands, it's going to make all the blood pull into those muscles. It's going to make you slower to react. So even though you're making that fist and you're practicing these drills, try to stay as loose as possible with your hands until you're getting ready to impact your target. When you're hitting a heavy bag, when you're hitting targets in class, that's when you're going to flex your muscles, flex the muscles in that arm and that core, and generate that power from the ground. And you're going to make your hand nice and tight when you impact that target. When you throw a straight punch, you want to punch on a 45-degree angle. So this is me punching vertical. This is me punching horizontal. This is 45 degree. And you want to take your big knuckles and you want to push them forward toward the target. So notice the alignment that I have through my knuckles, through the small bones in my hand, through my wrist, and up through the ligaments in my arm. It is nice and straight as I throw this punch, and it's going to give me more security for throwing a strike in the street when I don't have hand wraps on or boxing glove by punching on a 45-degree angle. Can you punch vertical? Yes. Can you punch horizontal? Absolutely, been done for years. But the best way to punch in a street fight with no hand protection on is going to be a 45-degree angle to protect yourself from injury. When you're throwing your straight punches, make sure your punches are coming from your orbital bone. That is the bone surrounding your eye socket. And as you throw your punches, make sure you're turning your shoulders and hips, just like we did with the palm strike, to make sure we're giving ourselves as much reach as possible. We want to make sure that we're not leaning forward or back or leaning to the sides when we punch. You want to keep your center at all times. So think of this philosophy when you're practicing your punches. Imagine I drilled a hole through the ceiling, drilled a hole through the middle of your head, went through the center of your body with that hole, came out between your legs of the hole and put a hole into the ground, and I fed a steel pipe through that hole. That would allow you to turn your shoulders and hips and throw all of your punches that way without being able to lean forward or back or to the sides with that steel pipe. So have that philosophy when you're practicing your punches to keep your center and don't lean when you're throwing your strikes. So straight punches come from your orbital bone. You punch as high as your forehead when you're throwing your punches so that they're up higher, aiming for a target that would be your height or a little bit taller. A great way for you to practice punches at home is to set up your phone or an iPad or some other digital device and record yourself for a minute or two practicing your punching drills. Then watch the video back afterwards. If you were to watch yourself in a mirror, you're going to think you're Muhammad Ali and you've got this awesome technique, but the reality is you're not really picking up everything that you need to. Instead, videotape yourself for a minute or two, then play it back afterwards like a movie, and you'll be able to notice a lot of inconsistency in your training, things you might be doing wrong, and be able to make improvements upon your technique. If you have questions on the technique and you're taking a video, please make sure to send it over to me if you have any questions. I'll be glad to review it and send you back my personal feedback. Also, check the angles of where you're taking that video. May not be the best angle to do it from the ground up. Maybe get something that's a little bit more in the middle of your body line or around your chest height, there you can get your full body covered, and do multiple angles. So if you have the camera sitting in front of you, throw some punches forward, throw punches to the side, throw the punches with your back to the camera, so you can see all angles of your footwork, your hips, and your shoulders as you're practicing your punching drills. Notice that I'm practicing my punches now with my hands open and not making a closed fist tight to my face. When I do my closed fist tight to my face, those drills are strictly practicing range of motion and making sure my hands are returning back to my face. So as I'm throwing my punches, if I could feel my knuckles coming back to below my eye socket and touching my orbital bone, I know I'm recoiling my hands. Rather than just throwing short punches here, my hands are moving forward and back. That's why we practice with our hands and knuckles touching our cheeks at our orbital bone and making sure we're having that full range of motion of punches coming all the way out and coming all the way back to the face. But also it's important to practice throwing your strikes from this stance and being able to get your punches to get closed and being able to get your hands back to open after you're done striking is very important. Your non-striking hand should come back to the side of your head as you're throwing your punches. So don't drop your hand down by your chest plate or down by your shoulders as you're punching. Make sure your hands stay up by your forehead as you're throwing your punches. Your non-striking hand is coming back to that orbital bone to practice your full range of motion. Very important when you do your punching drills. Let's go over your hook punch. When you throw a hook punch, it is half a circle in front of you. Meaning I'm trying to get around someone's guard. So if someone has their hands up like this or they're like this, I want to try to get around where their arms are to get to the sides of their head and the sides of their face. So make sure you are making half a circle as you're throwing this punch. Make sure your wrist, your elbow, and your shoulder are all aligned and they are parallel to the floor. Half a circle, elbow up, and then half a circle back, elbow down. Half a circle, half a circle. From the front, half a circle, half a circle. Left side, right side. Back and forth, elbow up, elbow down. Elbow up, elbow down. Make sure that when your hands recoil back, your elbows are coming back protecting your rib cage and your hands are back up protecting the height of your face. Now let's go over uppercuts. When we throw an uppercut, we want to make sure that we're doing half a circle perpendicular to the floor. So a hook punch, parallel to the floor. Uppercut, perpendicular to the floor. I am still trying to get through someone's guard and I want to use the full reach of my arms when I'm throwing an uppercut. So I'm going to turn my shoulders and hips and I'm going to give myself that full range to be able to get that uppercut to hit properly. I want to hit with these two big knuckles right here, just like when I'm throwing straight punches. I want to be able to hit with these two big knuckles on a hook. I want to be able to hit with these two big knuckles when I'm throwing my uppercut. I want to make sure that I'm getting my elbow and my wrist in one line when I throw my uppercut. The way that I'm going to make that happen is I turn my hip as I do it. I'm not leaning to the side with my hip. I am rotating my hip and keeping my center. At no point during my punching drills do I lean. All right, so next let's go over how to properly punch with footwork. From my defensive stance, I'm going to throw a left straight punch and I'm going to step once with my left. Then I bring my foot back and I reset back to where I started. Simple thing to remember is that the same hand that's striking, the same side foot needs to move. That foot needs to be planted by the time you fully extend your arm out to your strike. Now, even though I said fully extended, remember, we don't lock our elbow out. We'll always leave a slight bend in our elbow, but we're turning our shoulders and hips. So here's a straight left. And look, notice my feet as I do this. I keep my base and I go on a straight line as I step forward. Don't take this foot and cut your body off and turn to the side. Straight forward, left, left. Now we're going to throw two punches. We're going to throw a left, right straight. And I'll include the footwork. Left, right. Now push off with the ball of this foot and put your body back again. Remember, I'm pushing off with this foot and moving forward. Left, right, and back. Left, right, and back. So every time I take a step, I'm throwing the punch. Remember, same side foot, same side arm is striking. Now we're going to do three straight punches. Left, right, left. and back. Left, right, left, and back. Left, right, left, and back. Good, now we'll do 4 straights. Left, right, left, right. Left, right, left, right. Left, right, left, right. Now, if you want to punch while moving backwards, you can do the punching drill moving forward and back, and let me show you how. So we'll do 4 punches forward. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'll go backwards. I punch with my right hand first, so my right foot needs to move back. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me show you a side profile of throwing these punches. We're moving forward. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now back. 1, 2, 3, 4. I highly suggest if you're just learning footwork and you're practicing your punches, don't make big steps. Small steps, feel your foot tap at the same time you're making full execution of your punches. So small steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now you can start to pick up the pace, get a little bit faster, and have that tactical footwork underneath you as you are practicing your drills. Remember, your footwork is the foundation of everything, so it's very important to practice that as much as you possibly can. Like this video, please hit that like button. If you haven't already subscribed to our channel. I'll see you in the next video.